Okie dokie, all of you fine and fabulous people. It's time for us to begin, and I hope you're ready. Because, apparently I still stream, though it may not seem like it. There we go. How are you guys doing? I hope you guys are doing well. I'm going to take my little guy here. Oh, I have 2 different VTube studios open. That's not good. Hold on. Oh, I just got rid of VTube Studio entirely. Wonderful. There we go. Cool. Okay. Sorry about that. Where was I? So yeah, we're back, and we're ready to stream. Yo, it's Dreamy! And also Nico. Oh! Let me take a sip of my drink. I am excited to be back, and I know I have not been streaming as much late, and I told you guys that my streaming would be would be a little infrequent and erratic. So I apologize for that a little bit. However, thankfully going forward, once the start of June hits, a lot of my schoolwork will kind of drop off a little bit because I have, I'll be not having to do as much of my schoolwork because 2 of the courses that take a lot of my time will be concluding, so it's only a half-block class. So that means I should have more time once I get home from my class, and then any work, I should be able to just go into streaming. I don't have to do the assignments, because I won't have a whole lot of them left. And they're very good and very, very nice about it. So at least from June 9th to the 6th to the 20th, I'll be doing my full-time hours because I'm a full-time student and a part-time employee, but during those 2 weeks, I'll be full-time employee and full-time student. So I will be working from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. my time. So if we're streaming, we're going to be streaming at 6 p.m. from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then we're just going to kind of vibe. And it'll be nice. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to getting back into it. And Robin! I can't believe Robin is subscribed for 17 months in a row. Freaking, I love Robin. Why? Like, when I played Elden Ring, and I need to get back into playing. Okay, Robin, when I play Elden Ring, if I play Elden Ring next week, are you going to be there to help me? I'm not going to get Night Rain, not yet. I'm not getting Night Rain because I need to beat base Elden Ring, but I want to get back into playing Elden Ring because boy howdy, I've missed it. I miss playing it on stream. It's some of my most fun streams. I hope you're enjoying Night Rain. Please tell me about it. I think you and Phantom were playing it. So I'd love to hear about that later. I think I'll probably be in my server in the general VC, just hanging out and doing some schoolwork if people want to hop by and chat or something like that. But yeah, so for at least for those 2 weeks, I'll be working, but I'm hoping it'll be a lot easier for me to kind of just manage a lot of my schoolwork. I'm just going to class and then I'm coming home and just doing stuff. It was good, a little laggy, but good on the list. That's great. So yeah, and then we got some VOD stuff lined up. The Dragon 151. Hell yeah. What is that emote? Oh, it's Pride Wave. I love that. That's adorable. Heck yeah. So yeah, not to mention, guys, horror audio drama that I'm making is nigh pretty much done, and I should be announcing that soon. Should hopefully be announcing that soon for auditions for a 5-episode audio drama that I am writing and making. How am I doing? I'm doing great. Today's a great day for me because I just have to stream, and then I'm going to spend the rest of my day doing schoolwork and then going to the gym. So, and then that frees me up for the weekend to do what I want. So I'm so excited. I'm so happy about that. But yeah, so we have that coming on the way. The next VTuber voiceover showdown is coming up soon, where I want to announce that. And I have a couple like stream events that I'm looking to announce, and then collaborations. So I'm so excited. I'm so happy. I'm so excited. I hope you guys are too. But enough of my rambling. It's time for us to get into it. because I've made sure to not. I'm making sure not to like ramble too long about this. If I'm lucky, I'll give it a try for an audition. Well, heck yeah. So, because the thing is, for those horror audio drama auditions, it's basically people are going to send me. They're going to apply for it, and I'll need some form of like video or recording of just what they can do. But it's before it was like an open audition, or it was like if you're interested in this, here's a sample script, record it and submit it. At this point, it's just people. I offer the auditions, and not a whole lot of people audition. So I'm figuring out a way where I'm just basically going to be like, hey, I'm holding these. Drop a link to your demo reel or something like this, or something I could use to kind of go based on whether or not you can act, and I'll basically pick people. I think that just might be the easiest thing for me going forward, because not a whole lot of people do auditions, and it sometimes can be a little sad. So, but more on that a little later, because I'm hoping to stream on Monday next week, so we shall have fun with that. So without further ado, guys, let me look way off to the left here, so that I can read my little thingy. Today, we will be welcoming your new homeroom teacher and a unique figure in the VTubing landscape. Thank you for the Dr. Pepper. They are a variety gamer for half of their content, but focusing the other half on something lacking in the streaming world. You see, he isn't just playing a character. No. This individual is a real life credentialed teacher that holds 3 different degrees in health and education, and he presents interactive lessons on health, physical, and mental well-being. In the chaotic landscape of an inadequate education, health misinformation, and the Sea of Streaming Slop, this badger aims to foster a genuine learning community. Because if you guys know anything about how a lot of education is presented on social media, it can be very hard to parse out good information and from good people. Because nowadays, there's a lot of people who feel that if you go to college to learn something, you're a nerd, and clearly you're brainwashed. So understand that's not the case. People go to college and they learn for a specific reason. They invest the time and the resources and their own money to do this, to hopefully better the world in what they do, especially in the realm of education. So I just want to put my 2 cents on there. But without further ado, let's get to know our new homeroom teacher. The one, the only Badger VTuber. There it is. Mr. Aegis. How's it going, friend?
It's going very well. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
I've been wanting to get this done for a long time, because I tell people all the time that while it may not seem like it's Vivian, hell yeah, Vivian got me back into Overwatch. That's all I'm gonna say. Oh, and I hate it. I hate that I'm liking it again. I don't go to college because I'm poor. That's an entirely different discussion. Note to self, try to make demo reel then. Even if my 2 brain cells don't know what's going on there, if anybody needs help making a demo reel or some form of like stuff, there's plenty of scripts I have on my server, and I don't mind coaching people through it. I'm just saying, not the point. Point is that I've been wanting to have Mr. Aegis on my show for a while, because the thing is that while I don't watch a lot of people's streams, I do make it known that I follow people who I genuinely find interesting on Twitter. And I do occasionally pop in for their content, or I see their clips, and I see all the different stuff that they post. And because of that, I see a lot of Mr. Aegis' content here. And it's one of those things where, when it comes to the divisiveness and all the stupid stuff that happens in the world recently, especially in content creation, it's kind of nice to have a form of content that I'm not like, oh, there goes a person peddling misinformation, or there's a person who's peddling to drama. It's like, they're teaching this crap for the love of the game. They're teaching because they love teaching. And as somebody who, I love being an educator, I love teaching in all capacities. It's just, I don't want to sound like I'm glazing. I just really enjoy people who teach. So I love being in the presence of people who teach, because it takes a special kind of individual patience and just patience to teach people, man. Like, I gotta see you're getting giddy over there from that. And rightly so. You've earned it, friend. You've earned those remarks. As somebody who's trying to teach music, do you know what it's like trying to teach someone who's genuinely tone deaf how to record music?
I have no idea.
It's so hard. It's so hard. And so, like, I have patience. When it comes to something like that, sometimes I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be teaching. Regardless, I'm so happy we finally have you here. So, someone need to drag me back into Overwatch kicking and screaming. Were you the one I was whining to about essays? Was that either Mr. Aegis or was that me? That might have been me. I don't know. But without further ado, it's time for me to ask our first, and in my opinion, our most important question is that, Mr. Aegis, who are you and what is your story?
So, my name is Mr. Aegis. I originally was a high school dropout. I came from a very poor family. I had to drop out of high school to start working, supporting myself. Didn't finish junior high. Never was able to get my high school diploma. Had a brief period of homelessness. So I basically just sort of wandered through life for a few years, doing dead-end jobs, trying to make it in a difficult world financially. I was very unhealthy. I was very out of shape. I didn't have any health care, of course. I had to eat whatever I could afford. And I had grown up in a very restrictive, very insular community. So I didn't know what I was going to be able to do with my life. So I enrolled in the military, or enlisted in the military.
Oh.
After finally getting into shape well enough to actually make it. Because it was what I figured at the time was one of the only ways I was going to be able to get an education, to get healthcare, to get benefits, skills. And I served a few years in the Army as a canine handler.
Oh.
I took care of explosive detection dogs.
Oh,
and then I got injured. It was not overly serious, but it was enough that I was discharged, had an honorable discharge, and I was able to return back to my home state. And I was able to get accepted into the University of Wisconsin, the flagship university of the state, the #1 school of education in the country, one of the public Ivies. Yes, indeed. Overall, the #1 school of education, all of the educational subjects, teaching degrees, one of the top research universities in the country. I was very fortunate to get in, but, I earned it.
I like the confidence.
And from there, I don't know if you have questions that we'll get into that deeper, but yeah, a lot happened since then as well.
I mean, it sounds like you've had a very productive life, especially taking advantage of the GI Bill, but rightfully so, earning the GI Bill, being able to do that. Thank you. I didn't know that. Thank you for your service. That's incredible to think about. The amount of teachers, I guess I've never thought about it, just the amount of teachers I've had in my life that have served in the military. And just a lot of times a lot of them tend to make the best teachers, at least growing up, when I've noticed that. Just that level of discipline and rigor. So, translating that into higher education, I can only imagine how liberating that must have felt to return to college after, dropping out of high school, because I know people who've dropped out of high school, and it's the many different routes that people go. There's no, there's stereotypes with it, but they're stereotypes, and we know how hurtful those are. So
yeah, going back as an adult student was a challenge, but it was also something that I feel was an advantage in some ways. I had a little bit more discipline going in. I was a little bit more experienced in life than some of my peers who were just fresh out of high school, fresh out of their parents' basement. Don't know how to balance a checkbook, don't know how to do their own laundry. I had some life experience that made things a little bit easier in the rest of the college requirements.
Yeah. Oh yeah, very, very much so. If I may ask, how old were you when you went to college following your military service?
I was in my mid-20s, I will say.
Mid-20s? Because that's the thing, I'm in my mid-20s now. I just turned 25 years old. And, I love your model, because I just, it's the adorable, you've shown your face a couple times on social media, and so knowing what you look like and just how close to form your model is of just who you are as an individual, I think that's adorable. Just the facial expressions with it. You have no one to play Overwatch with. There's plenty of people in my server. We'll talk about that. But you know, I just turned 25. I graduated, you know, when I was 18, and then I went and served a religious mission for a little bit when I was 19, and I got injured when I was doing that. And so I'm not sure. Don't worry. I'm not. I don't want people to think I'm comparing a religious mission to the military service. I don't want to make that at all. It just. I don't want to. I'm absolutely saying like this. This is just the course of events that happened in my life. I hurt my leg to the point I couldn't walk. I needed physical therapy with that, and so I came home. And at the time, COVID happened. So I then spent 2 years after that just working a job. And until finally I smacked my mic. Until I was 21, I finally went. I applied and I decided to go to college. You know, I'm not going to mention where I'm going right now. I can mention it to you because off stream, since, you know, college educated individual, you'll know what I'm talking about. But even then, I don't think you're going to go around and say, he went to this school. Yeah. But, you know, that's where I've been since 2021. And it's funny that you bring up the people who, like, kids fresh out of high school go straight into college. Do you think because you were able to have that life experience, you know, living a little bit on the street, you know, living on your own, bouncing from job to job, going into the military, and then finally coming back at the age of the mid-20s, you know, going back to college as a freshman, do you think that prepared you a lot better than kids coming out of high school?
Absolutely. You learn responsibility very quickly, and you learn how to take care of yourself, and you learn how to prioritize your time, especially, and think forward of what's going to be most important. Is the thing I'm doing in the moment actually going to benefit me, or is this just holding me back? And just the general cleanliness. People think of the military as sort of a dirty job, but they drill into you to keep yourself clean, to the hygiene, not because they, you know, really care that much about it, but because, you know, if you're unhygienic, you spread disease, and spreading disease or illness or unhygienic behavior, it reduces the unit's capacity.
Of course.
You impact everyone else.
Like,
I remember a moment where we were getting basically hazed in basic training, where the drill sergeants come in and they find some excuse to punish the entire platoon, and they throw everyone's stuff in the barracks in the middle of the room and say, your stuff wasn't to standard, it's not put up in your lockers properly. And then they get to mine and they open up my trunk and such, and they look at it and they're like, do you got OCD, guy? I'd be like, no, drill sergeant, no. But they call the other drill sergeants around and be like, make everyone come and look at this guy's bunk, because it's the only one that's exactly how we wanted it. Because I, you know, had a little bit more life experience even going into the military as well, because, you know, I wasn't like a lot of other recruits, you know, 18 and fresh out of their parents' basement again. So in both cases, I think they helped me out a lot.
I was going to say, at least in my experience of leaving to go do a religious mission, it was something where I think I was ill prepared to do it. I did not feel like I was I didn't have enough life experience, and I hadn't lived on my own at that point. And so I was just, homesickness is a very, very powerful form of depression. And it's one of those things where the moment, like, once I came home and then I was just kind of just becoming self-sufficient, you start to understand you kind of need that independence. You kind of need to be able to, hard on eggs. I'm sorry. That didn't mean, you don't need hard on eggs. You know, I'm somewhat ex-military myself. Oh, wonderful.
They are indeed, actually.
Thank you.
I do know that they are.
Like, it may sound like I'm joking. I'm not joking. Thank you for your service. Have
not to our country.
Even then, you know, it was
a good country. A good country.
Cool. Still, thank you for your service. Keep the world safe.
Not that they had a choice.
Okay.
They have to where he lives. I won't say where. You know.
Yeah. Of course. Ow. Thank you for that. Understandable. OCD with depression does not mix very well. It doesn't. But yeah, just being in that was for those who want to be in the military, those who want to go to college or stuff like that, it does certainly help to have that life experience and just live on your own. Especially in your case,
You know, there's a term.
What's that?
There's a term that they use. I don't like it, but it's called adulting. And if you learn how to do it a little bit, it goes a long way.
Yeah. You think it would. There's some people that are still trying to figure that out to this day. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, one of my, I guess I wouldn't call him a buddy because I didn't really like him, but someone in my initial platoon when we got out of our training and we're starting our job for the first time, the first thing he does, of course, he does the typical enlisted guy thing, and he buys an Escalade, probably at like 40% interest.
we call that the return, or we call that the veteran special, because the amount of friends I like. So my best friend, his father, he wasn't necessarily in the military, but he was in the FBI, and he worked for their now he works for their child trafficking division, and prior to that he worked in their language stuff program. And so he traveled and basically spent an entire year in Afghanistan teaching English and teaching English, Spanish, and one other language to the local individuals there. And he comes back and he gets himself a Mustang and an Expedition. And so he loved those things. They were paid off and he loved them. And so my wonderful best friend I've known for years, he totaled the Mustang. And so his reaction, like I remember that when I was driving, it was me, it was my best friend, it was my best friend's brother, and then, you know, my best friend's dad, and we're all in the truck, like the day before he was getting married. We were talking about all this, and he's like, his dad's driving, he's just like, look, I love you, son, but I want you to know, I didn't spend a year in Afghanistan getting fired at for you to total my favorite car. So, point being is like a lot of military individuals, they earn those fast cars. Maybe not the high interest rate, but they earn those nice cars. So
yeah, it's either an Escalade or an Expedition or a Charger or a Camaro.
But 9 times out of 10, I see it's like a Mustang or it's a Charger.
Yep.
You know, if that's what they want, you know, they've earned it at that point. So it's not my place to judge. Now, transitioning from military life to civilian life, and then wanting to go to college, what sparked that desire to want to go to college? Because especially at the age of in the mid-20s, that's a big life choice to make. Because typically people are already going to college by the time that they're 18, or they're already, like I was, at the age of 21.
Yes, and the spark was that it was something I never thought I was going to have the opportunity to do. My family also, I mean, I have a couple of relatives who went to college, but, you know, technical school, 2-year degrees. Nobody had gone to a 4-year university, had an undergraduate degree. And I had always been very well-read. I'd always been very interested in academic topics, just didn't have the opportunity to do anything with it at first. And I knew that I wanted to go to college very early. And when I had the opportunity with the GI Bill, I said, I'm not going to waste this chance. So that was my number one goal, and I made it my number one priority, because I knew it was something I wanted to do and that I could do. I could succeed at it, and it was a way that I could do something, because I knew I wanted to go into a health-related field, having been unhealthy, both physically and mentally at times, something that I knew I could help other people with.
And I imagine, because altruism, while a wonderful thing, I imagine like that wasn't it just happened to be a wonderful side effect. It was just having that passion for teaching and stuff like that is what made it naturally follow. Were you a naturally inclined teacher when you were younger? Like, you just loved teaching people in general? Or was it just you found the love later in life that culminated into what you would ultimately be now?
Well, I was an oldest child of...
I'm
I had
youngest.
3 sisters, a stepsister, a stepbrother, a half-sister, and later on an adopted brother. So,
goodness,
6, 7, 8 kids. I was the oldest. And in other areas of life, I was sort of a natural leader. I was never really much of a very personal connections, one-on-one. It was mostly that I felt comfortable as a facilitator, as someone who was in a leadership role, helping people, educating people. It was just natural for me, even if it wasn't something that,
Sure.
like you said, wasn't altruistic. It was just that's where I felt most comfortable. That's where I felt I had a use. And I'm the kind of person who needs to feel useful, needs to feel like I'm doing something that is beneficial. And of course, you make more money if you have a college degree. So, hey, why not?
That is true. Like, children, look me in the eyes when I say this. I may be $40,000 in debt, but at least I'll only be $52,000 once I am 50. The joke there, for those who didn't understand, is that the loans only get bigger even if you pay them.
Yeah.
But if you work a job, if you take out student loans like I did, because I came from a relatively poor family, and the thing is, I just wanted to get a college degree, and I've been working and paying other things, but my tuition itself, I've been taking out student loans for it. So that's why I'm hoping that once I do my master's, I'm not taking out any loans. That's all being paid out of pocket for me. But I'm not going to do my master's program until I pay off my student loans. Because at least in the profession that I work in, I don't need to have a master's degree, though a master's degree would help for those upper management positions. And if I can, I might see about trying to get a job that can pay for that upper management. So, but until then,
employers love to see graduate school because it is such a leap in responsibility and maturity that it requires, discipline. The academic load is much higher, so they know that someone who has a graduate degree in whatever field is someone who is experienced with handling responsibilities on their own, being able to be independent, to work independently, to need less oversight, need less supervision. They're going to be able to learn quickly and on the fly because you got to be able to do that in grad school.
When I don't know if you had feeling like this. Did you have family or friends? Oh, thank you so much for the follow, Land. I appreciate that. Welcome in. Oh, excuse me. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Oh my word, and the dragon. Ah! Fun fact, guys, since you followed, you get to throw Dr. Peppers at me. And okay, throw them at me. Don't throw them. This is the first time I think I've ever had a guest get things thrown at them.
It happens.
Unruly students, am I right?
I have to get used to it. I gotta get used to it.
You never get used to it.
Gotta be able to work under pressure. Criticism.
That's the thing. You let the frustration, anger out when you're at home. All right, settle down, kids. The dawn is here. Oh my word! Thank you so. Oh, where are you wonderful people coming out of the word? Huh?
What's the Castlevania line? The dawn has come and vanquished the terrible night.
I don't know, but that is a hard line. That goes hard.
Yeah, I love taking lines from games. Thank you for the gold stars. Oh my gosh, that actually works.
Are they just doing that in your just normal chat, even though you're not streaming?
Yeah, somehow. I'm sure it's the dragon. My good friend, the dragon. But yeah, just the other day I was playing Undertale Yellow, and there was this robotic enemy, this AI enemy that was about to destroy you, and because you're fighting back so well, it goes, you have earned my respect, but not my mercy. I was like, oh, damn, I'm stealing that.
That's a good one. Well, I'm gonna pin that. That's a good com. The dawn has come, and I threw it out.
Oh, there's the hearts.
I like to imagine when that happens, you like yell, or you get you just yell in lowercase. It's like in cursive in lowercase.
It does happen because I feel like I have a strong connection with the character. So it's like, when you play a game and you're playing a race game and you turn the controller, even though it's not motion controls. Ooh, you feel like, if I turn the controller, or if I tilt my head, I can see around the corner of this shooter game. When I get hit by the stuff, I actually feel like, I gotta move. So my body moves sort of on its own. And then as my face gets farther from the mic, it does sort of sound like I'm being pushed farther away. And I feel like that kind of puppeting is a lost or not really as utilized thing in some VTubers in their work, and I think that would help. It really does help with immersion, I think.
Oh yeah, it's so much fun. Like one of my goals later as a streamer is I'd love to get a haptic feedback vest, and that way anytime somebody throws a Dr. Pepper at me, I feel it like on my chest. I just feel like that'd be so much fun. But yeah, back to the question before, our wonderful peeps here decide to follow me. Also, make sure you're going to follow Mr. Aegis here. All y'all in my community, go follow him. Like, such good content. You're not gonna get like better educational content than Mr. Aegis. So,
yippee!
Came here from Aegis. He is great. He really is though. Sorry, just the slide down of just. Oh my word. There we go, right there. So, did you ever have people in your life that said that college is a waste of time? It's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. Go do a trade.
Not really, but I would say that's because I have a very small circle of people that I trust and would listen to. So most of the people that I know were very supportive. Some of them questioned my particular choice of what to do and what I was going to do in college. They say, you've got this great opportunity, these educational benefits. Why would you want to go into education?
Yeah.
You can make a whole lot more money going into, business school or something like that, or a technical sort of field. But I didn't really want to do a job that I didn't have hands-on work doing. So that was more natural for me to do something where I'd be working with people, my sort of natural desire to be in leadership in some capacity and helping people.
Well, I imagine you're also like me in that regard of when push comes to shove in terms of experience and time, you'd rather not work a job that you don't feel personally happy working. Because I understand there are some jobs at some points in your life that you kind of just have to work to just kind of build that money, that experience, so that way you can get the job, like the good job you want.
Yes.
Because for me in my life, growing up, I said I made the decision I want to go to college, all my life, and that was my plan. That was my goal, and I had plenty of family, especially my immediate family. My parents were the only two people that did not basically criticize me for it. They said, you're wasting your time and your money going to college. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. You're not going to get far in it. Just work a trade job work a trade job that dad worked, because they're going to take care of you. You're going to make a lot of money, and you don't have to worry about getting, going to debt. Not to mention the classes you do and the certifications are basically equivalent to a bachelor's degree. And having done all this, I'm like, actually, no, they're not equivalent to a bachelor's degree. Good try, though. Completely different things that encompass a bachelor's.
It's just very different as well when, in my case, not having to worry so much about the financial aspect.
Yeah.
I think people in my life were like, I mean, it's basically going to be free. Why not?
Yeah, at that point, of course. But because I know... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and being the kind of person I was, they sort of knew you're really dedicated, you're really disciplined, you're going to succeed well enough. And that was something that I felt I needed to satisfy. I needed to show everyone that their faith in me was justified. So I was very fortunate that I was able to finish my undergrad, my first bachelor's in, under the 4 years. So I got that done in like 3 years because I, took a whole bunch of extra credits because I didn't have much of a social life anyway. So might as well take, the full 18 credit load each semester. So I had enough benefit left over that I was able to get the master's covered.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to school for the master's was something some people were a little bit more like, oh, why are you doing that? You don't really need that for the career you're going into. Like, I'm not going to waste the tens of thousands of dollars worth of benefit that this is going to give me.
Mm-hmm.
And the boost in my resume even, and the things you learned in grad school. And it's so much more focused and honed in on the things you want to learn. I mean, you learned a great deal of awesome things in undergrad, which things you don't get in undergrad, things you don't get in a trade school. Like you get to take all these great electives. I got to take a course in manga.
Ooh.
I got to take a class in manga that was taught by the English translator for Ghost in the Shell.
Oh, my word.
So it's very respected figure in manga translation. I got to basically read and write essays about Sailor Moon and Ghost in the Shell. Obviously, we did Akira. We did some of the old school, like Astro Boy. We even talked about some of the Tomie, the Junji Ito stuff.
Yeah.
So it was just absolutely fascinating that I was able to take this university level course in manga. And I'm like, okay, well, I have a summer elective left. I took a kendo class. I got to take kendo and learn from a kendo master over the course of a summer. And it was all covered. And I had to tell people, if you thought I wasn't going to go to college, you're missing out.
Uh-huh.
But that, of course, it really is dependent on the financial aspect. And the
I
people
was going to say,
it was such a different choice for me having the coverage, and the cost today is just outrageous. The student loans are outrageous. People should not have to go into debt or, risk their life in some military job to get a good education. But, my solution would be, if I can get on my soapbox, everyone who successfully completes high school should get their first 2 years
like an associate's
of a university, education covered. So they can either get their associates or get a technical degree, get into a great job, or then they only have 2 more years left to get their bachelor's, and then there will be programs available to help them do that. If they can do a work study,
which is what I do.
And and also, of course, then if you don't want to go to college, if you do want to go to trade school, if you do love that kind of stuff, you can apply those 2 years to a trade school instead, or an apprenticeship. I think that would really revolutionize our higher education.
Oh, very much so. I completely agree.
Because we do leave out those trade schools, which do cost money, and apprenticeships, you don't get paid very much. So if we could give everyone those opportunities, because we need people to do those jobs.
Well, it's so fascinating that you bring that up. One quick thing I want to say before I continue on that point, Nico, that is a very wonderful thing that your mother is offering to pay for your college. If you have the means at which somebody can pay for your education, really figure out what you want to do first and then capitalize them, because the biggest piece of advice I have for somebody who wants to go to college is figure out what you want to do first. That'll minimize that'll minimize the amount of waste you might do. But the other thing is, you have about a year, maybe 2, to do like all your gen ed stuff, where you figure out what you want to do in college. So you don't immediately have to declare a major going out of the gate. I just happen to know what I wanted to do. Exactly. So, if you have the means where somebody else, or you don't have to pay for it, go into education.
And if there's a good city school or a good local, community college, take your first year and a half, your first 2 years there, get your gen eds done there. It's a tenth of the cost, and many of them have transfer agreements where, you successfully complete those first, gen eds, then you're automatically accepted to the state college, for example. So those are great options. Definitely explore community college. I worked at a community college for a while. Excellent programs. Many of the university professors are the teachers there, and they're sort of part-time. So you can get all those gen eds done, still take really cool electives. You still have time to figure out, what you want to do, especially if you are coming right out of high school and you're not sure, because high school doesn't do a very good job either of helping people decide what they want to do and prepare them for adult life.
And then they blame college, that college is the reason why they failed, when it's like, well, you have to understand that there are 2 components you have to understand when it comes to higher education. Is you're held to it. The only standard you're held to is your own. Colleges could care less whether or not you fail or you graduate. They already take your money. Their job is done. Now it's up to you to hold yourself to the higher standard, because if you fail, that's on you. They don't care if you pass or they fail you. It's you're doing the work. And so you'll
find professors that will care and be really invested in your personal development and well-being.
The school doesn't.
But the school itself is not going to make you attend classes. If you don't want to go to your 7:30 a.m. General education physics class, nobody's going to make you go show up. I was talking about the school I went to being such a great school, public Ivy, #1 school of education. That's all great. It's also the #1 drinking college in the country.
Really? I would think UCSD would have been one of them.
It is up there. But I think it's Playboy does the yearly party schools ranking.
Oh, okay.
And
let's see.
There are some years where it is UW-Madison that is considered the #1 party school, when every other school on that list is typically in Southern California, or it's in the Gulf, it's on the East Coast. But this small Midwestern town in the center of Wisconsin, because it has this enormous drinking culture and party culture, at times it's the #1 party school in the nation. And as someone who doesn't drink, or at least drinks very rarely,
Same.
it did make the college experience a little bit harder because there are so many events and activities that are centered around alcohol and partying.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a prude or anything, but it was just harder for me, especially as I was already an adult, so I was already older than my peers. I already sort of was kind of on the outside looking in. So that's another thing that schools can do better of, is the universities can do better of, is integrating adult students, returning students, many people who would love to go back to college, but they have kids now. They have a mortgage to pay. They need healthcare help. They need childcare. Universities could do such a better job of encouraging that, especially in the teaching programs, because who better to teach than someone who has been working in that field already? So you get someone who's been doing engineering, on the job, in the flesh, working hands-on with engineering stuff. They could go back to school and get a teaching degree and teach engineering, and they would already have a leg up. It would be great to recruit those, especially because we have such a teacher shortage. But it costs a lot of money. And they have responsibilities. They have kids. They have a mortgage. They got health insurance they need. So that's something that I've been working on, because I have done, committee work and advocacy work in improving access to higher education, more inclusive syllabi, even how to help people know what their resources are in the community to help them go back to college. So I'm going on about this, but it is something that's really near and dear to my heart.
It's one of those things where you don't really get a appreciation for it until you actually do it. Like when I was in high school, I think I graduated with like a 3.1, 3.2. Very, very lucky, but I was grinding like so much near the end of that. On a side note, before I forget, according to these two websites, niche.com and Ivy Central, UWM is number 7 and number 8 currently. So
Milwaukee?
Madison.
Oh, yeah.
Currently, for both of them, it says that UC Santa Barbara is the number 1 party school in the country, which I could understand. Yeah. It's a UC college. I mean, at that point, drinking is the only way you can cope with it. So, I don't know, man.
And it costs so much to live on the coast. I mean, I was considering going to a school in around San Francisco.
Oh.
But the cost of living there is outrageous. But the thing is, the GI Bill gives you a housing benefit, which is prorated based on the a cost of living calculation for where you go. So I would have gotten like $4,000 a month just in my housing benefit. But I mean, rent would have been like $5,000 a month anyway. Ooh. So it was just better to stay home in my beloved home state of Wisconsin, even though it is, it has its flaws. Although yesterday was the anniversary of its induction into the Union.
Oh, Wisconsin?
Yeah, I always love to include little fun facts as my icebreakers and conversation starters in streams. So yesterday was National Paperclip Day, so we paid homage to Clippy, and we mentioned that Wisconsin's birthday was yesterday.
Hey, speaking of Clippy, if you guys want to see a goofy little Clippy thing, I have a little VO meme that I made that is on my YouTube channel, and it's Clippy giving you an existential crisis. I don't think I've ever mentioned that before, but the fact that you said Clippy, I'm like, oh wait, I have a little Clippy thing that you guys might find funny. Anyway.
Oh yeah, I see Silver Raccoon saying Wisconsin was nice. They'll stay in Texas for now. I enjoyed Texas when I was stationed there for a little while. But the traffic,
no, what was it?
In and around San Antonio, it's maybe the worst in the country besides Atlanta. Oh. So a great place to live temporarily. But if I could summer in Wisconsin and more winter in the South, that would be better. Yeah, we did have a Clippy text-to-speech little bot thing, but then I switched to Bonzi Buddy, if class is old enough to remember that.
Oh, yeah. Man, see, because the thing is, while I may be a younger...
I'm getting some ferret text-to-speech bots.
Well, I may be a younger
My little
fellow.
Ferrets.
They'll be
our little... I'm getting a little art of them.
For those that don't know, Mr. Aegis here has ferrets and likes to show them on stream sometimes.
Yeah, you get to see my beautiful face when I go down into the room, because I made a little room for them in the basement, so they don't have to be in a cage. I got a security camera put in there so I can always keep an eye on them when I'm away at work. And then when the class is good during a stream, I will put the camera on the screen and I'll go down there and give them a treat and play with them a little bit. They are, of course, the stars of the show, Moki and Ori, named after, of course, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, one of my absolute favorite games.
The moment we mentioned ferrets, chat's like, oh, ferrets, oh.
Oh yeah, if you want to see them, you can go check them out.
The noodly boys.
The noodly ones.
The noodly ones. Also, in case you haven't done it yet, go follow Mr. Aegis. I have to wait another 44 minutes. Fine, I have a backup then. How dare you?
Here, check out a little short. You can see them with the giant teddy bear that I bought at Goodwill for $5 because I love thrift shopping.
Oh yeah. Ooh.
It's a 6 foot tall, like, bear costume.
Here, DM it, and, DM the video to me, and I'll post it in chat. If it's like you made a short or something like that. There
yeah, it's like a 90-second short.
Oh my word! Wait, so you said thrifting. What is your go-to thrift store? There's only one right answer.
It's a Goodwill where I go because there's like 8 of them around me. But
the answer we were looking for, Mr. Aegis, was Deseret Industries.
Oh. Yeah. I just love, like, I got the old Barbie dream house, the one that's like 5 feet tall.
Oh my word!
For $3, and it still works. Like the light up and the music it plays all still works. But yeah, that 6 foot teddy bear I bought, I thought it was just a teddy bear. I got it home. It's a costume. It's a full 6 foot costume you can wear, and I've worn it. But I have that bear set up near their room, and they will like literally climb into it, which is what that clip is. So yeah,
that's nuts. Oh my word.
Oh, and if you like dumpster diving spirited nostalgia, the best place to do that is in college towns. Drive to your nearest college town at around semester start or end.
You'll find
we call
people
that
putting
Christmas around here.
Oh yeah, the amount of chairs you could like if you want a new office chair.
Yeah,
that's like the best thing.
Any bulky furniture that people are like, I am not dragging this with me to where I'm moving after college, or I'm not. You know, they get it to their dorm and they're like, this is not going to fit, so they just all leave their junk by the curb. I've got like 5 flat screen TVs, and I'm not rich. I mean, I'm a teacher. I don't make a lot of money, but just because they're stuff that people threw out were perfectly good, I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll put one in every room.
Oh my goodness. See, thank you, Land, for that, for the Dr. Peppers. So, like, when I've kind of talked about before, when my mom passed away in 2021, I was in my freshman year. My freshman year, I just started college. It was my very first semester, and that was when, unfortunately, my mother passed away. And at the time, because we were living, I'm from Las Vegas. I was living in Las Vegas right before I came to where I am now. That's where a lot of my stuff had been. And at the time, since she had passed away, we had been trying to pay the rent on the house to keep it. And we unfortunately, the landlord had to kind of evict my mom posthumously because, you know, she was deceased. And I spent Christmas that year basically moving all the stuff out of that house with my family. And we put it into a giant storage unit, but because there was so little time we were given a 24-hour notice, and we all had very limited money because we were trying to spend it on things, like to get like traveling for people to make things work to get stuff. There was still plenty of stuff that I had that I ended up losing that I didn't get to keep. And what I have right now with me, since I've been living in this town for the past 4 years, is I am so grateful for the kind hearts of all the college students that I have lived with, and the things that they have so graciously left behind. I've asked them, like, hey, do you mind if I keep this? Do you mind, because you're gonna throw it away or you don't need it anymore. They're like, oh yeah, sure, take it, you know. And I'm not hoarding a bunch of stuff, but my point being is that 9 times out of 10, if you go to a college, if you go near college and you see people, it's move in or move out day, and you ask people if they want, you know, if they're throwing anything away or they're donating it, simply ask them. And 9 times out of 10, college students will just say, yeah, here, go ahead and have it. I'd rather not take it with me. It's either going in the trash or it's getting donated. So you know, if you're ever in a spot where you need stuff like that, college students are typically the best for that. Little life lesson.
Especially if it's a nice college, because they generally have wealthy parents if they're able to afford it. Go to those nice dorms.
I'm like,
I think the average family income of some of those schools is pretty high, and then there's, you know, people like me going because I can get it covered for free. But yeah, college students have been great. My roommate that I moved in with was someone I actually met in an internet community, in a fandom community. It was like the only person I knew living in the capital, and was fantastic. Was a great person to hang out with, to live with, because I knew them and I knew, you know, hey, we're in this fandom. I know that you're not a normie. I know that you have weird interests. I know that we can be weird together. And it was, and I can, because this does tie into my educational background, I had gone back to get my master's, right? Because I had the coverage. I thought I'm going to get, I started in health and fitness, and I got the opportunity to go for my graduate degree. I had a great relationship with my professors, and they helped me out a lot. And I was going to focus on exercise psychology, particularly with an emphasis on
kinesiology,
the health and wellness of people with disabilities and seniors. Like my research project was going to be the effect of therapy animals in conjunction with walking routines for seniors with disabilities, because we know that therapy animals have a great effect on people's well-being. Oh yeah, especially people, you know, in the senior loneliness epidemic. But we also know that simple walking routines have a great benefit. You know, is there an augment benefit? Is it, you know, greater than that? So that was my focus. But then, you know, you mentioned COVID happening and impacting you, as it did everyone. That really was my inspiration to get the teaching degree. I was always going to be in a position of, you know, educating people, helping people in some way. The specifically teaching degree was that I was just finishing my master's when COVID happened. I was in my final 2 semesters. And I remember during the pre-spring break period, because it was late winter, early spring when it happened in 2020, 2019. Yeah. Time flies and I don't remember things. And you'll see why in a second. But I remember people, my peer group, saying, "Oh, I can't wait to go to spring break in Spain." At first I'm like, your parents have so much money, you can go to spring break in Spain. But also, I know for a fact you're not leaving the country because stuff is going to go down, because this is just happening, and that, you know, people weren't taking it seriously, but it was in the news. Yeah. I'm like, well, I know a little bit about health and, you know, public health stuff, so I have a feeling things are going to get shut down. But just before it did, I got really sick, and I didn't know if it was COVID because it hadn't been reported to be in my state yet to have traveled that far. But I got really, really sick for like a week, and it was the worst illness ever. But then I started feeling better. I'm thinking, okay, it's passing. I either had a mild case or it was just a regular flu. But then I was sitting in my desk, about to go to sleep after studying, got up to turn the computer off, and I suddenly felt really dizzy, and I fell back into my chair. And I couldn't get up. I couldn't get out of my chair. And I started getting so dizzy, so disoriented and nauseous, I couldn't think. I couldn't figure out what was happening. And I fell out of my chair. I fell right out of my chair, and I started crawling out of the room, and my head was splitting. It was the worst headache I've ever had. It was like a jackhammer. I was like, what is happening? But also, I can't think straight enough to call out for help or something. I just crawl out into the living room, and I start throwing up my guts, everything in there. Just the worst pain in my life. Thankfully, I had a roommate there who could, you know, help me out, and eventually I was able to get to the hospital. And, you know, I'm unconscious at some point in the hospital. And when I wake up the next day, they tell me, you had a blood clot in your brain.
Oh, my word.
So COVID causes huge amounts of inflammation, which can, you know, cause blood clots to happen. And one of them just happened to break off from one of my heart vessels, went to the back of my brain in my cerebellum. And I had a posterior inferior cerebellar embolism.
You're lucky you're not dead.
I am very, very lucky. If it had been any longer, if it hadn't broken up when it did, I could have been brain dead. I could be dead. Could have had serious permanent brain damage. And it was in the cerebellum, which is a center in the brain for
Yeah.
balance and fine motor control and some emotional control and regulation, and your autonomic breathing systems connected to your
Yeah.
brainstem.
It's
So-
basically the hub for your central nervous system.
Yeah, and all of the descending nerves. So I woke up in the hospital, and they told me, yeah, you had a moderate to severe embolism in your brain. You could have died. I was in the hospital for an extended period of time. I'm very, very, very thankful and grateful to the Disability Center at the university for doing such a great job of making sure I could get caught up and stay current, even though I was in the hospital and only able to do things for a short period of time each day. I had to do a bunch of stuff to get my brain swelling down. They wouldn't let me drink water for like a couple days. I could only chew on ice chips a little bit because they needed to bring down my blood volume to shrink my brain basically as it was swelling against my skull. They're like, yeah, well, if this doesn't work, we might have to cut open your skull to relieve the pressure.
Oof.
So I'm sitting there thinking, what am I going to do? Am I going to recover? If I'm going to recover at all, how much I'll recover? And that was when I started thinking more seriously of what do I want to do with my life? What am I going to do that's going to make an impact where I can use my existing knowledge and expertise to help people? What is going to be the most impactful? And that's when I decided, you know what? I'm in a pretty stable place right now. If I can recover from this, I'm going to go back and get the teaching degree and teach people about health and wellness. So that was the real spark for it. And I had to do some physical therapy and stuff. I needed to, I was really off balance, needed to use a cane for a little while. But I'm grateful to be in the spot that I'm in now where I'm relatively healthy. I was actually, I'm not going to boast, but I was a pretty jacked guy, in my field. I'm doing okay now, slowly getting back to where I was.
There you go.
But it was my choice to change from what I was doing to how can I help people physically and mentally be well. And that's my sort of tagline is the reason I do this is to help people live longer, healthier, happier lives. So that's why I give all those lessons that I'm sure we can mention.
Kind of reminds me of Dr. Mike. Dr. Mike's I think a pretty good.
Yeah, I've seen some Dr. Mike videos.
In my opinion, he's a very good educator in terms of public health and educating people on what's right or wrong.
Yeah, I mean, public health is basically what my lessons are. Teaching public health information.
Oh yeah, like there are streams I see that I remember one of them recently. Like the series of videos that you've been doing are their videos on like drugs, alcohol, and other medicinal things, and just the effects it has on the body, and just do's, don'ts. Like if you're before you spark up that skunk, make sure you know what's going to happen before you die. Take a little bit of the drink, consume a little bit of the consumption. Make sure you understand what it consumes from you.
Right, and that cannabis lesson, which we did around 420, April 20th, of course, that was the most appropriate time to do it. And I teach to an adult audience, so it's taught with not talking down to people, not talking to them like they don't know what they're doing. In a rarely adult, like, hey, I know that people are going to do this. I'm not going to judge or have an issue with it. I just want you to make informed choices. So we talked a lot about really interesting stuff, and like the fact that the potency of THC of cannabis has gone up from about 3.5% in the early 90s to 16% on average. So it's a 500% increase in potency, and people think, oh, it's not a big deal, and people didn't have any problem in the day. Well, it's because the stuff you're using now is 500% stronger. I mean, you look back at
more concentrated. Back then, it was people.
Yeah.
It's like if you look at tobacco, it's like tobacco back hundreds of years ago. That the process in which tobacco was made and cigarettes were made was simply the process of taking tobacco leaves, the tobacco plant, was drying it to all get out, and then burning a little bit, and then basically crushing it up and making into a fine, not powder, but just a fine flake that you would just wrap in some form of either a hemp plant, or just at the time when they were able to manufacture some variation of paper, and that was it. There was no additives. It was simply just the tobacco plant that was dried, that was crushed, dried even more, and then wrapped up. And it was you are literally smoking you're basically smoking a plant. But nowadays, if you look at cigarettes, it's become a much, and the same thing for alcohol too. The process for which the refinement of alcohol, wine, and all that, it was not as horrible back then, because the thing is, they weren't going at the time. They were not going for potency, and they weren't going for what can basically give me the best buzz. It was, this is what we were having because it was easier to make alcohol than it was to make water, or to get water.
Yes, yeah. I mean, you think about people look at, say, Bob Marley, which was the example I used, and I showed pictures of him with a giant pile of cannabis, and I'm like, wow, take a look at that. It looks like dirt. It looks like mulch. It's basically stems and sticks. And if you think the 3% or whatever in 1990 was low, imagine what this stuff in the 70s was that the hippies were smoking. Maybe 1%, 2%.
That's
THC.
sticky, you know?
Yeah, and that was the good stuff.
That was
And
the
nowadays,
good
you look
stuff.
At this stuff that looks like it comes from an alien world.
Well, it's like
It looks covered in sprinkles and stuff, and I'm like, that's like 20% THC. You know, you use that at a high rate. You use that consistently. You know, we talked about the rates and stuff and all that, but don't want to teach the whole lesson here, but you get the idea. And we've moved between, because I like to do the variety, and that's the mix of physical health and wellness like that.
Yeah.
And the mental health and wellness, which our most recent lesson, for example, was on self-talk, the psychological effects of our automatic negative thoughts, where we tell ourselves we're not good enough. You know, why are you so stupid? Why can't you be like blank? And we went through all the different types of that and how people can improve their self-talk and the physiological, psychological effects that has on people, improving their mental health and wellness. And that's the bread and butter of what we do on our weekend streams.
I feel like I'm about to...
I do my my regular gaming streams and just have some variety gaming fun to build community and such on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But then on those Saturdays, we talk about something really important, one way or the other. Teach people how to use breathing practices. Teach people how to be safe on social media. You know, summer health and safety, self-talk, self-care. We're going to talk about the issue of cringe. We're going to talk about embracing cringe. Not this week because I'm going to have to put this lesson off. Too busy. But coming up soon, it'll be, you know, the public sort of backlash and sentiment lately against sincerity and earnestness, and how everything is considered cringe, how people need to feel aloof and edgy and ironic. Everything is post-irony now, and how that limits our experiences of life. You know, we're not willing to do things
it limits our
that
capacity
we might enjoy
for
because
empathy.
we're afraid of that judgment. And my tagline for that is going to be, I don't think you should dance like no one's watching. I think you should dance like people are watching and you don't care anyway.
Yeah, I think another good topic to cover in that regard is lately I've noticed, especially in social media and the presence of just content creators, is in learning a lot about ethics recently, ethics and legal issues in the realm of speech and debate. One of the biggest things I've learned recently has been laws governing free speech and the First Amendment, and how people don't understand the purpose of free speech, and they don't understand how the laws apply. And that's normal because that's all legal mumbo jumbo. That, you know, it's just like, freedom of speech, I can say whatever I want. It's like, to a degree, it means that the government can't censor you. However, there are still rules to it, and even then, the most important thing to understand about it is, especially like, say, journalism or the press, is you shouldn't feel compelled by some other force not to speak up against wrongdoing. And that's the biggest thing I've noticed on social media, especially Twitter, is there are so many things that I disagree with that are absolutely vile. Like, for instance, the amount of people spewing hateful rhetoric against trans individuals. And it sucks that I have to... I see that and I'm like, I want to say something. But I'm afraid that if I do, I'm now going to get backlash from the ignorant individuals, because their voice is louder than that of those are the kind and accepting individuals. And that's the problem that we have that comes into like that cringe, that irony, is that people are afraid to speak up against wrongdoing because they're afraid that they're going to be in the wrong. Because like if somebody says a racial slur, or somebody says a transphobic slur, and you call that out, suddenly you're the bad guy for doing it. And that's the problem we have in this new age of social commentary we have, is that now it's suddenly okay to push one's own ideas, and the moment one has a disagreeing opinion, they have to fear because they're trying to bring up what they think is correct and why they think it's, hey, you shouldn't do that. That's not cool. Shut up, liberal. We're basically going to dox you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's a sentiment people are starting to understand, but it's such a hard wave to push back against. And yeah, it's a social contagion, both of people succumbing to their base instincts, and also people who are reticent because there is this backlash against being earnest and caring about things deeply. It's considered cringe. It's considered, dorky. It's considered, silly to really care about things, to be really into things, whether it is something silly like a fandom or it is something serious like an advocacy topic you care about. There is a backlash against caring about things, and it's then very easy for the people who are succumbing to their base instincts to, at the end of any conversation, just be the person who doesn't care and can dismiss it and just insult the person and not make an argument. So yeah, we'll talk about the fear of judgment and the limiting of our expression based on what we assume people will judge us for, and my ultimate point being that the ineffable, invisible thoughts that you think someone is having in between their skull should not impact your choices and your freedom of expression. There's a world of human experiences out there for you to have. The invisible thought bubbles that other people have should not be the deciding factor. And also, most of the time, people don't actually think about you that much anyways, so don't worry about it.
This is my advice to you guys, especially when it comes to, we are both two college-educated individuals, but we are by no means the standard. We're not, we speak merely from our own experience and thoughts. And this is what I want you guys to know, especially my thoughts on college, because there's a rhetoric that goes around that college turns you quote-unquote liberal. College does not turn you liberal. It's simply more often than not, it turns you into a more open and empathetic person, because apparently, I guess, choosing to love your fellow men, women, and non-binary individuals, and choosing to love people and understanding other people, I guess, is a very liberal thing. We're not going to the politics of all this. I'm simply saying that don't be like college does not make you put you on a political spectrum. It simply helps you understand more and become more open-minded and knowledgeable.
That really is the purpose of university. And arguments I've had in the educational field is that people think we should just have college be your job training. College just be your courses that are directly related to the career you want to do, the skills you want to develop. And if it wasn't like that, it would cost so much money. Why would I go to college? Because everyone just wants the degree on their resume so that they can get the job. And I think if you want just the skills, if you just want the work experience or whatever, go to a trade school, get job training, take courses on the side that are just for your job training. And what the purpose of university is not to teach you just a job skill. It is the enrichment of the whole person. It is for personal growth and development, which is what it's always been for a university education. You get that bachelor's degree, you get that master's degree. You get those as a function of developing the whole person. You can't be a well-rounded person if you learn a lot about engineering, that's great. But if you don't understand how other people work, if you don't understand how other fields work, those things will affect your entire life. They want you to take these electives. They want you to take basic math. They want you to take basic English and geography and all that. Even if none of that affects your direct work experience and the skills you're going to need in a job, those make you a more well-rounded person. They make you a more enriched person. You take those humanities courses because it makes you a more full individual. And the purpose of the public school education, K through 12, there is this split. There's this split idea about what it should be. Should it be to produce workers, or should it be to produce better people?
Yeah.
Functioning individuals who understand the world around them. People want a business degree, but they don't care about, basic science and physics. if you don't understand how those things work, you're going to be susceptible to misinformation. You're going to be ignorant about things that might matter and might impact you and your community.
Well,
The purpose of a university education is that, and you get that community, right? You're in a community of people that are from all over the world, that are from different backgrounds. You learn a great deal about being a better person, being a more well-rounded person, and how community functions. It's not just to get job training and whatnot. If you want that, great. Just go get job training. You can take courses on LinkedIn. You can go to a trade school. You can get an apprenticeship.
Harvard has
do
free
all of those
online
other things if you just
computer classes.
Harvard and Princeton online. You can get great educational content there without paying for all of the other university experience. But the rest of the university experience is there for a reason.
It is that feeling of being a well-rounded independent adult, because the thing is that when you take higher education, and especially when you learn to be an educator too, is you understand that you have to put aside your personal beliefs into what is objectively correct. Because when people inject a lot of their own personal feelings like this, it's like if we continue on the topic of trans individuals, a lot of people who don't understand and don't understand, one, that empathy, but also the science behind it. It's just like they take and they spew that hateful rhetoric and infuse it into their teaching that compromises what true education is. Because it's like, if you see someone who's trans in your class and yet you choose to focus on that instead of the actual education, that's not educating. You're simply just pandering misinformation to those who are willing to listen. And at that point, that's not what education is. Because in the courses that I've taken,
it's going to affect your job work anyways. Because in any job, you are going to be working with other people. And that university degree that they see on your resume doesn't just mean that you have the skills and knowledge to do the job that they're talking about.
Yeah.
It's you are capable of working in a group, you're capable of working in a team, you're capable of working with this company, collaborating with other individuals, being someone that we want to work for our company, and not just someone that can do the job, but it's going to be a net negative for our bottom line. Which, of course, is why companies care about any of these issues anyway. It's not because they actually care about these topics. It's because they want to make the most money they can. And they're not going to make more money if they're associated with terrible people, which, as an aside, is sort of why streamers and such are getting, their merchandise and company collaborations and stuff canceled. It's not because those companies are, quote unquote, whatever, we know what the word is. It's because those companies don't want to be associated with a shitty person that no one wants to be around.
It's
they're going to make more money being able to appeal to everyone.
Yes. Then that, for instance, the whole Kirshi Verstahl thing, you being dropped by Mafia City or whatever the thing was called, Crime Boss City. I don't know. I don't care. The biggest thing about that of the idea that the game devs owe her a partnership and a sponsorship is utterly mind-boggling. Sure, they
have their free speech too.
They
Freedom of association.
They do.
They don't want to be associated with someone like that.
Now, if it was a breach of contract, then that's a whole different matter. Then yes, the developers are in the wrong, very much so. Because if that's a breach of contract, yes. But since there is no breach of contract, it was more of a formal, the thing is, when it comes to things like that, fun fact, and I recently learned in law and then in public speech, Supreme Court cases I've been listening to recently, formal words do not constitute legally binding contracts. They do not. Because the thing is that the meanings and the validity of spoken word can change over time, therefore it cannot be legally binding. It has to be done either in a notary fashion or it has to be signed. And so in the case of this, it's important to understand that the developers don't want to be associated with somebody who is clearly a liability. Now, that should not be a reason as to distance yourself from someone who's transphobic and racist. It should not be because, they're a liability. It should be because they're openly racist and transphobic. And
that's just the business reality of the decision they're making.
And
it might be that they have a personal integrity or whatever, but more broadly, in general, in society, there's just a monetary cause for it, and that's the world we live in. The dollar rules everything, and companies want to make as much money as they can. And if that means they send a job overseas, if that means that they do layoffs, if that means that they sever their relationship with a spokesperson or an employee for any reason, because everyone in almost every job, unless it is a contracted position, is an at-will employee or an at-will representative. You don't have a inherent right to have a relationship with a game developer or, you know, be allowed on a particular platform. It's always going to be at the will and the whim of whatever company is involved and wants to make the most money.
It's and this is why understanding and like college is what helps can would give you that understanding of why this is the way it is. And there's a saying that I always say when I train new people. My job is, because working as an audio engineer, especially when it comes to live mixing and broadcast, there are times, and I thankfully work for in a studio where basically everyone there we all basically share the same faith. So a lot of us are closely aligned with our own beliefs, and a lot of us, just because of our religious culture, we're just very nice people. And so, you know, but there are times where we will snap at somebody basically like, hey, X, Y, and Z. It will say, hey, don't bother me right now. I'm too busy doing this thing. You know, and it's not personal. It's professional. And that's the words I live by when it comes to work. It's not my intentions are, and that's why I typically apologize. Like if I ever have those moments, I always apologize when the thing is done. I say, hey, I'm sorry if I did offend you. That was not my intention. This is what I was doing, and it did not mean to come across that way. And you know, then it's just like, it's not personal, it's professional. I always make sure it's like, I'm not attacking you personally by any means. I'm just saying, hey, please don't bother me right now. I'm doing something at the moment. And so that's what it is. It's that feeling of, sorry, it's not personal, it's professional. You're a liability. I can't deal with you right now. And that's just the world we live in.
Or the majority of our consumers don't want to deal with you either. So
that's very much it.
If you want to appeal to a particular demographic of people's beliefs through your rage bait or, you know, drama, that's what you get. You get that user base, but then you have to live with that fact that you're associated with it. You can say, well, I didn't say those things, or you can't hold me accountable for what my fans and people do. Yeah, actually they can, because that's the brand you've created. It's the brand that you have cultivated.
When you
are more than just your own actions. You are the brand, the community that you've created.
When you say, the reason why I bring up trans individuals so much is because I've learned so much, and I've learned to love and understand trans individuals so much since I've been here at college. Like I'm not gonna lie, when I was in high school, that's because I grew up in a very conservative environment. I did not care for trans individuals. I was like, you think you're a woman and now you think you're a guy. You're a guy, you think you're a woman. That's so dumb. It's so stupid. And that was when I was in high school. And the more I interact with people, the more I understood myself, the more I went to college and just learned and interact with so many different people. That's when I was like, man, I was horrible. How could anybody think like this? Doesn't make any sense. And so it's like, if you think that trans individuals, if they're being brainwashed, if you think that they're not people, if you care about them that much, it's like, you just don't understand. You're not properly educating yourself. And that's what it boils down to, is you don't educate yourself. You don't learn about what the information you're trying to spout is. When it's objectively...
There's an anti-intellectualism as well that is sort of an undercurrent of this. And there's forces at work that want that. They want people to be ignorant. They want people to be easily swayed. They don't want them to learn about things. I mean, as a health teacher, I teach sex ed. There are people who don't want young people to know that, because it will be easier to manipulate them later. It will be easier to control them later, to make them feel like they don't have agency, that other people have a right to control themselves and their bodies. Those forces are very insidious and are things that are a big problem in the educational world.
I'm sorry. The comment, I'm not gonna lie, getting educated made me a little gay. Is honestly, I want that on a t-shirt now. Oh my word. Because side tangent, me being I'm much more open about it now, just me being a pansexual individual. I don't go around telling people it's not a thing that's important to it's not something that I've openly brandish, and I don't feel like it's important to me as a person, it's just who I am, and I just like, if people want to be prideful in that, just who they are, that's wonderful. I just don't go around being like, yeah, pansexual pride, all that. My point being is like, I didn't find that until my like junior year of college here. So when I see not gonna like getting educated made me a little gay, I relate to that more than you could ever know. Anyway, because originally this was supposed to be an hour, but we went well over the hour. So, and I don't want to take up too much of your time because this has just been such.
It's a great conversation. I'm always happy to ramble on about education and health and the use of live streaming to do some more substantive content than as we've mentioned, the sort of slop that's out there and the misinformation, disinformation, difficulty in knowing what's valid and reliable out there. Always happy to talk about those important topics.
Well, I look forward to collabing with you more because this has just been so much fun. And Marcus the Red Panda, it's been a blast listening to you. Oh, thank you, Marcus. I appreciate that. Means a lot. Like, I'm not gonna lie, guys. This has been the most fun and the most engaging VOD I've had in a very long time. Not because the other ones were just so uninteresting or they just weren't fun or anything like this. It's like, because this is why it's important. Damn, straight up died. It's and this is a reminder of like that this is why I want, as I'm redoing the VOD now, getting back into it, it's important if you do something like this, really take an interest in who you want to talk to, because when you understand it and you relate, and I don't have any formal questions, I'm creating all these questions on the spot. It's just made this conversation so much fun. Like I normally I sit straight up in my chair and I'm looking the entire time, but for the first time in a long time, I kind of pushed my chair to the side, like put my feet up over my desk, rearranged my mic, and I was just sitting there, just relaxing and having a conversation like this the entire time. And that right there is what the VOD is all about. So
yeah, and I'm pretty particular about who I collaborate with, who I work with, and I pick people who, like I said, people who are going to be engaging and interesting, and every time I do it, I try to be as professional as possible, try to be very polished, which is, all of my lessons. Every time I collaborate with someone, they come away from it saying, oh my gosh, your slides are all these animations and you do all these things. I'm like, do you have a manager or something? Like, no, this is just my created assets and everything. I have a model and some emotes and everything else is made myself. But I mean, when I do collaborations, I will discuss with people extensively, like, oh, do you want to have a signal between us when like you need to cough or take a drink of water or something, so I can do the yapping for a little bit? Just to do the normal, like, this is what a broadcaster would do, this is what a radio host would do, to be prepared in the background. And that does lead me to mention the one thing I wanted to plug. I am also involved with a educational streamer collective. I believe I am the only VTuber in it, which makes me very happy that I would be considered good enough to be a part of this educational streamer group. It's called the Knowledge Fellowship. It is a collection of amazing educational content creators, people who have expertise. There are people with PhDs in geology, volcanology, astrophysics. You and I talked about, there's a PhD in mathematics that does streams where they will answer your math questions. They will teach you about cool math topics. You can follow the stream team. This is the stream team link that I want to plug. I'll post that in the chat.
Sure.
Because there is always someone in that group that is streaming something that is substantive, of educational, edutainment, informational benefit. So if you want to watch something that isn't slop, check that out. I am a committee member of that group. Very proud to have been added to that, as I've been doing some great work to, try and promote educational content.
Oh,
this is the channel proper. This is the channel proper. It is twitch.tv/The Knowledge Fellowship. Once a month, I am hosting an educational series called the Seminar Series, the TKF Seminar Series, where I interview one of the educational streamers. We talk about their background, what they do, why they do it, and they give a presentation on their topic of interest. We had a great streamer named Muhoodles on for our May stream, and they talked about astrophysics. They talked about the fact that they are an exobiologist, that they are someone who looks for life on other planets. They look for bacteria that might be living on other planets and other solar systems. So it's awesome informational, educational content, and you'll get to see my beautiful face because we do that in live cam.
make sure to send me the link.
Yeah, so let me.
It got
post those
banished.
over
The
to-
link got banished.
Yeah, that of course will happen.
Yeah.
So those are the channel proper and the stream team. You can subscribe to the stream team because always, like I said, there's always at least one person in that great group of people, really legitimate, professional academics, PhDs, doctors, but teaching and educating in a relatable, engaging way, which is, you know what I try to do.
Uh-huh. Hey, you know what? Hold on. There we go. I
There,
am
yeah.
followed now.
You can check them out. Follow that channel. I will be hosting events monthly on there. Eventually, we'll get to the other content creators. I will be a guest at some point. If you are an educational streamer out there and you're watching, consider applying to be a part of that group. It's a wonderful stream team. I'm trying to do a lot of work to help promote the different streamers in it, get people to, subscribe to content that is going to be enriching and help you develop as a person while being entertaining, rather than just watching the slop that's out there, especially in the VTubing world that we've talked about, and my sort of antipathy towards the gimmicks that are out there.
Was that kind of it? Forgive me.
Well, I didn't know if you wanted me to get into it because I was thinking about the questions that you'd sent me and
Yeah.
kind of, yeah. So one of the things that gets under my skin is that there are a fair number of streamers who call themselves educational, and there's a small community out of the 50,000 or so English-speaking VTubers out there that have an educational gimmick or a character that is a teacher, but they don't do any educational content. They don't teach anything, and that's fine. You don't need to. It can just be a character. There are half dragon, half princess ramen shop owner characters out there, and that's
Hell
cool.
yeah.
It doesn't have to have anything to do with their content. It's just for the vibe, for the aesthetic. I have my Windows 98 aesthetic, but they sort of trade on the fact that they're in education, but it does sort of help drown out the real education that's out there. The people who are working very hard, the great VTubers that are out there, that I've collabed with on the STEM Tuber Symposium, biologists. There's a cryptographer. There's some great educational content out there, but it does bother me that there are those who portray themselves as being educational. They don't do any educational content. It's important to be upfront about what you're doing. If you're just doing game content, that's great, but be upfront about that fact, because it makes me. Jealousy and envy are natural, especially in the streaming world, but it's like, wow, these people are getting ahead, doing the same things that a lot of other streamers do in every genre. Trading on engagement bait, trying to go viral with drama, taking shortcuts, being unethical or slimy. There was someone who got their $5,000 model funded through a stream team that they started, and then deleted the stream team and kicked everyone off of it after they got their model funded.
Ooh.
Though there's so much that can be negative and toxic in VTubing, so I find it important to try to promote and advocate for, real genuine community, not the, engagement bait, the slop that's out there. People who will collect thousands and thousands of followers with their content or their clips, or having a sexy model or something, which is fine too. But then they don't have any more average viewers than a small streamer, because they get that first impression that makes someone click. But then someone watches their stream and they're like, "This sucks. I'm not going to watch again."
Well, yeah.
So don't. If you're a content creator out there, focus on your content. Don't spend a lot of money on a model.
Boo that person.
All that stuff. Yeah, boo that person. Focus on making good content, because having a smaller community of people that actually watches you is going to go a lot farther than getting your 15 minutes of fame and then you disappear.
This is what I will say, and this is what I will leave with, and then we will do our last 10 questions. If you want to pursue education, if you want to learn and all that, do it. But understand that education facts should not be utilized as weapons. The facts and information are merely tools for us to know not what to think, but how to think. And as being educated means searching knowledge for the sake of knowledge, not because of some talking point, not because of being biased. If you're seeking information, you're doing it so because you want to learn. That is the essence of education. If you're learning something for the sake of trying to disprove or stuff like that, that's not education for education's sake. You're simply researching.
That's not how science works, right? You don't go in with a preconceived notion of what you want to prove and then do your study or whatever to prove it. You go in with an objective hypothesis, and whatever the data says, the data says. That's how science works.
Because the idea is
the same with you go into education to enrich yourself on something even as small as, you know, what games you play on stream. It should be because it's something you enjoy and want to do, and not, oh, this is going to get me the most views, or this is going to make me the most popular. Don't do that with education either. Don't study a field because you think it conforms to your existing beliefs, or this is what your in-group believes and wants. You know, do things that are going to enrich you and improve your personal development, even if it is just something that's for entertainment and fun, recreation, like a game.
This is what I will say. There's a misconception that's held that when it comes to experimentation in science, your goal in science when you perform an experiment is not to prove something. Your goal is to see if what your hypothesis is stands, or it's to be disproven. Because the thing is, we as humans, we don't hope for something to be true. We simply see if it is true or if it's not true. We don't hope for something to be true. Because when in the grand scheme of scientific research and experimentation, it's not that we have scientific facts. We have scientific theories that have yet to be disproven. And that is the key distinction, is that we don't have, I guess in this world, there's no such thing as an objective fact, but rather something that is simply yet to be disproven. And even in human speech and legal research, that is the same thing. There is no right or wrong. It is simply, is it disprovable? And that is how education works too. There's a reason why education matters, is because you're not seeking out something to hope it's true. You're seeking out something to find out whether or not your views can be disproven, or whether or not the information still stands up. And that's why you should be seeking education. It's being used as a tool for learning, not weaponization.
The opposite mentality is the whole reason our discourse in the public square, the internet, is completely broken.
Well, it's like the theory of evolution, or the theory of the Big Bang. They're not true. They're not factual statements. They are simply theories that have yet to be disproven. We have Newton's theory of gravity that was disproven, but we still use it for basis on other things. Now we have a brand new understanding through people like Albert Einstein and Edwin Hubble. However, those are theories, not concrete. However,
just a game theory.
They're just a game. But hey, that's just a theory. A space theory. I was going to say and cut, but I'm like, that's film theory. It's been so long since I've seen Matt Pat. He went to get milk and never came back. So, anywho. Learning is great. Be educated. And be educated for learning's sake. I've been learning a lot about law and legal stuff. And the best kind of learning I've done is because I saw, this is cool. What if I looked this up and saw what else related to it? And I listened to Supreme Court cases about it and researched more about the stuff in it. That wasn't required. I thought it was interesting. I learned more about it. It gave me a better understanding. That is learning. That is what learning should be. You find something interesting. You see something. There's a part in it. Oh, that's a different thing. Let me take that, branch it off, and learn about that and come back to my original thought. That is how learning should be.
Like, I should learn who MatPat is because everyone's talking about it. And like I told you, I live under a rock.
You don't know who MatPat is?
I don't know who that is. No.
Oh my! You've never heard of game theory on YouTube?
I've heard the meme, but like people will say, "Oh, you look like this YouTuber," when they see me, my face in person. Yeah, like I'm Moist Critical or people like that, or that person who does the D&D.
Matt Mercer.
Yeah, like, oh, you look like this person. Like, I have no idea who the hell you're talking about.
It's okay. If Matt Mercer was my teacher, I would also be really happy. So, that's education. Take that with you as you will. This show ended up becoming 2 hours today. That's what happens when the conversation is so good. So, let us get into our last 10 questions. So, guys, if you've not been here before, I like to ask 10 questions that were created by writer, actor, director James Lipton that I often ask on his show Inside the Actor's Studio. There are no right or wrong answers to these questions. They're simply for us to see what our guest says and responds to. If you haven't done this before, I highly encourage you guys to respond in chat with your answers. And again, they're very simple answers. But with that in mind, Mr. Aegis, are you ready?
Certainly.
Question number 1. What is your favorite word?
Infinite.
That's a big word.
It is a big word. The very concept of something being ever expanding or infinite, or having no beginning or end, or being eternal is both terrifying and awe-inspiring to me.
Something that has no capacity, something that cannot be contained. Like your ferrets.
Yeah, they will get out of everything. Can't keep them in.
The little noodly ones, they come.
The bad noodles, they're always at the bottom of our behavior chart.
It's time. Sorry, we're taking away your macaroni time.
Yeah, gonna take your clip and move it down, which is something I actually do. I actually have a physical behavior chart for the class in our streams. So
you doing the behavior clip? Man, if that was me in teaching, I'd be doing the meow. That's a good one. I'd be doing the card system.
Yeah.
Man, I was like, I was orange. I was like orange or yellow every other day.
Yeah, I let the class tell me, because we've moved to a self-reflection sort of system in education now. The judgmental, teacher moves your clip down is fallen out of favor, but we use it as self-reflection. The class tells me where you think your clip belongs, and I move you up from either Angus at the top from Night in the Woods, or Beatrice, or Greg, or Mae Borowski.
Oh,
the bad noodle.
Oh,
yeah. I made that like a physical chart because, it was a fun little silly thing. It's sitting in my office right here next to me.
Hell yeah. What is your least favorite word?
Electrocute.
What?
I don't know if it's like a synesthesia thing, but I can taste that word. I can taste the word when I say it. Electrocute. It tastes like copper. It bothers me.
Interesting. Greg the Gregsolent. It's what is it? Munchausen. So it sounds like a Munchausen thing. It's so real. It's just you think you have it, but it's like you don't have it, kind of thing.
Trash mammal.
Trash mammal. That's a word. I'm a Maine Coon VTuber. What do you think my favorite word would be? At least it is an R. Rated R. Oh, I don't know. You're so real for that. Does taste like copper.
Yeah.
The very long word for the fear of long words.
Well, I'm a badger because they're awesome. They're the best mustelid out there. Ferrets are the second best mustelid.
I don't know.
I get confused with I'm not actually, people use the word anthro character or the F word. I wouldn't say that I am. I'm just sort of adjacent to it. Many friends I have that are.
I like to think that you are just straight up a badger, that like the arms there, those are just empty sleeves, and it's just like a badger that's kind of sitting there with its head through.
I kind of am. I am my own school mascot, after all. I do have a full body model that will be ready sometime next month, so that'll be cool. But people have seen my face and they're like, you kind of look like this character. It's like, I don't know, you got transformed. I used to have a human model and I used them interchangeably, and there was a redeem that someone would throw a Pokeball at me and it would transform me into this. At some point I would like to do that again, but I didn't really like that model, so we'll wait until I can afford another one.
Yeah.
But that's fun stuff.
What inspires you creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Making connections, being able to express myself, because something that I was restricted from growing up, something that I didn't have the capacity to do so earlier on in my life. Being able to do that and find those meaningful connections, to know that people appreciate what I try to do. Every comment I get that says, thanks for this lesson, or hey, I learned something, or wow, that was great, or hey, I do your breathing exercises now every day. That is better than any drug. To hear that something you did creatively was appreciated, that it was respected, that's what really inspires me to keep going.
What ruins that inspiration?
Seeing bad people get ahead. The rain falls on the just and the unjust, but the notion that people take shortcuts, do unethical behavior, are cheating, or misrepresent themselves,
Mm-hmm.
It applies to a lot of content creators, unfortunately. And as I mentioned, jealousy and envy are natural as long as they don't lead you to negative self-talk or bad behavior. It may be able to inspire you to work harder or
I
whatever
was
the
gonna
case
say,
may be. But
envy is like, it can lead to motivation, but too much envy can lead to hostility.
that's why I don't like Yoda's statement of like fear leads to whatever. I'm like, no, fear can be natural and good. Fear can make you understand that something is a risk or a threat. Anger can be justified. Anger can be used positively to be angry at injustice and want to change it. And even hate can be, in some rare cases, correct. You should hate evil things, and it can motivate you to, apply yourself to do something about it. But the Jedi were corrupt and arrogant.
Well, there's a reason, shoot, what was I going to say with that? Something I learned when I was in school from one of my teachers was, judgment is not inherently a bad word. You judge people. That is a normal thing. Cast judgment on people. But when you do judgment, understand we inherently ascribe a negative connotation to the word judgment. Judgment simply means to make an assessment of a person or a situation. And it's like, if you're walking down the road and you see a giant, 7-foot tall, muscular man with tattoos and a knife or a machete walking toward you, you have to judge the situation, you have to judge the person, because either two things are going to happen, or three things. One, they're just going to be a normal dude that's just doing their thing, whatever. Two, they're a body art and knife enthusiast. Or three, they're a slasher killer and they're going to want to kill you. But either way, you have to make that judgment. So it is simply the connotations to which we ascribe things to be.
And you just make those judgments understanding that you're judged by the same standards. If you are applying the same standards and not being hypocritical, then it's not as bad as making those snap judgments and judging someone for the very same things that you do yourself. So I have to try to not prejudge streamers for their appearance, because I know that people will judge me. They see this character and they don't give it a chance. But then the people who do, they see that, hey, I've got this expressive character that, I didn't make very fancy. It's very plain. It's, just me and my little cardigan that I like to wear, being the classic teacher.
I love my cardigan.
Mostly focused on the face to be expressive, because I wanted it to be friendly and approachable. So those lessons would be, engaging and friendly, and people can see the emotion on my face. And I knew that people would prejudge that for what it is, but people who give it a chance find it really enjoyable. And that's, as long as I'm not judging people too much harshly for their appearance or characters, it's fine. But it is going to happen, and it has sort of limited my reach in some ways. But in other ways, I think this is really applicable, and I've learned a lot about how this could be applied to teach younger kids. This character would be, kids would go crazy for a little cartoon character that was teaching them something. So it's all been a very great learning experience.
It's kind of going off of the comment there is, kindness is the greatest kind of heroism. Charity, I think, is one of the most important things, one of the most important characteristics anyone can have, because charity is the purest form of altruism. And charity extends in all kinds of aspects, whether monetarily, emotionally, physically. And it's just
charity also requires a sacrifice. It is you giving of something that you could have used for yourself, time and resources, or financial aid, or some kind of material good that you could have used for yourself that you gave to others, which is why I don't really consider what a lot of really wealthy people do to be charity. It's like Mr. Beast does a lot of good stuff, but that's not charity. There's no sacrifice involved. They haven't lost anything. In fact, they continue to make more and more money, which is fine, because then they can continue to give more and more and do good stuff. But if your charity is making you money and giving you fame, it might be beneficial, but call it something else, because it's not charity. Charity is, putting your last 2 cents into the donation jar because, you wanted to help someone worse off than you.
Well,
charity, whether it's volunteer work or whatever, it requires you to give of something.
And this is what my father taught me was, if, say, for instance, if a homeless man asks you for $10 or something like that, and you give it to him,
I know
Or
where you're going with this one. I've heard
or-
this.
Yeah, it's a very good one. It's like if you're given that, or say a friend, like you have a very a good friend, they need like $100 or something like that, and you give it to them. Don't expect to get it back, because if you're ready and willing to part with $100, you clearly didn't need it, because it's this kind of thing of, and that's if you give it to them. Not you're debating whether or not to give it. It's if you had already given it to them, you give them the $100. Clearly, you were able to live without it. You didn't need it in that moment, and it's
that person that people are like, why did you give them that money? They're going to misuse it. What I do with my money that I can afford to give someone is between me and my conscience. What they do with it is their business. So you give someone money. Oh, they're going to spend it on alcohol. Maybe, but that's between them and their life, their friends and family, the people who care about them, whatever they believe in. My choice to give that is between me and my conscience and what I believe in. If I can spare it and I don't, that's on me.
Yeah. See, and it's the lesson of, if you give something to somebody, it is charity. If they give it to you back, then it is a gift. Because the thing is that if you give somebody something like that and you don't expect to get it back, you're giving it, that is an act of charity that you're doing for goodwill. And if you don't get it back, it's okay. You did your good. But if they do pay you back in that regard, or they come back and expressing all that, and then guess what? Then that is the gift. That is the return gift that you get, but it's not expected. So, what is your again? We've had this before, we've talked about this. You don't strike me as an individual who swears or curses. One of the questions is, what is your favorite curse word? Do you have like a substitute that you say? Because I say crap, or I say like dang, or I say, for whatever reason, I say oh beans for whatever reason.
Yeah, I do love to use beans.
Yeah.
Oh, beans.
Yeah, or it's
because
like
it does. It does work very well as a substitute. I don't swear a lot at streams, not because I'm not a prude. It's just
what the.
It's just not really in my character. Unless something really wild happens in the game and I'm like spooked or shocked, or get snuck up on by an enemy and killed, or I start to get frustrated because I'm dying to sands. But I did kill him in 56 tries, so I feel like that was pretty good. But
that was me with what their Undine, is that what their name is? Like the
Undine, yeah.
I
took me 36 tries for the fish lady, 56 for sands, but we did get it in one episode, so I feel pretty accomplished.
Yeah, I was supposed to do a 2-hour Undertale stream, and I ended up doing 4 hours because I kept dying to Undine. So I know exactly how that.
Yes. So what do I say? I say beans as a substitute. I will use substitutes with holy at the start, because I feel like that's such a powerful augment to any word. Like if you say holy shit, it's like, it's not just shit, it's to the max. It's like to the highest,
on the most high
degree.
It's on the most high.
Yeah. It is at a divine level of whatever the swear word was.
I say like holy buckets.
Holy buckets.
Like for whatever reason, just
holy mackerel.
Like oh bucket. There's oh buckets or something
what,
like that.
The scallops?
What to be with the scallops?
I do sometimes utter what the sigma, because students will say that because they're brain rotted Zoomers.
Honestly.
And they'll say skibbity, alpha, sigma, and stuff, and I'm like, please don't say that in my class.
Oddly, the one I say a lot is like not brain rot, but just I say like gosh diddly dang. Or the
Flanders.
Or the one you hear me say, and maybe that's just because of my background. It's only because of recently I started saying "oh my heck," or what just "oh my heck," and only people for the most. But that too, just "what the frick" or "oh my heck," is like that is a distinctly religious culture thing about my faith.
Yeah, yeah. I will sometimes do God bless it, because that's just what sort of pops into my head.
Oh, I remember I'd say like God bless America.
Yeah, just the stuff drilled into me from that background.
So, you know, and then at that point, that has nothing to do with like taking the Lord's name in vain, quote unquote. It's just that, I don't know. I find that I don't get as frustrated when I use a substitute like that. Because like it's so dumb in a situation like that. Yet you're hammering something, you hit your thumb, and you're like, gosh, diddly dang, God bless America. You know, you say that, and all of a sudden it like disarms you immediately.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and people like I will sometimes use Jesus Christ. Again, it's like not as a invoking, but it's like it is such a powerful emotive idea that it also kind of disarms you, like, wow, holy crap. Like, I don't know, it's just such a powerful like concept in our culture. But as an aside.
We'll say creative expletives like the what in the hot and crispy Kentucky Fried drops F-bomb is like so stupid, or what the HE double F is just, again, it does make me giggle. Anywho, we're gonna blaze through these. What sound or noise do you love?
I love the sound of purring, which is unfortunate because I am allergic to cats. I do like cats, but I have a terrible allergy to them. So I don't get to hear purring very often. I do just, it's such a peaceful, comforting sound. I like that.
What sounds or noise do you hate?
Are you muted?
No, I said, what sound or noise do you hate?
Oh, I couldn't hear you.
Oh.
Eating or drinking. I don't like to hear people's chomping or slurping.
Oh,
so all the commercials, like those Pepsi commercials, pouring really slowly and then they drink it. I'm like, nope, do not play that.
Like the pouring slowly for me, I'm like, oh, it's just pouring into a thing. But it's like, if people are just intentionally just like, you know, like slurp, I'm like, friend, please get better manners.
Yeah, I don't like commercials where someone is chomping into something.
It's just so disgusting, especially when that's a pee, like instantly. Something that makes me turn off streams immediately is when people eat or drink on stream, especially if they eat on stream. I'm like, please stop. Like instantly, it's an instant turn off when I watch a streamer. Like I just can't deal with that. Yep. It's just like, that is just so rude to do into a mic. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
If I could go back and be super athletic again and be younger, I would love to have gone into pro wrestling because I love watching wrestling. It's such great theater to me.
Oh, okay. So like WWE, not like Greco-Roman.
Yeah, like I would love to do like New Japan Pro Wrestling or AEW and like all their great.
So it's not managed by Ed McMahon.
Yeah, it's it's pageantry, it's lights and music and a stage and a live crowd and people cutting monologues on each other. It's great. It's redneck opera.
What do you want your wrestler name to be?
Probably like the Big Bad Badger or something like that. I don't know.
The Big Bad Badger. Do you like?
I do love Luchador's Landline.
Ooh.
I've been watching some like CMLL, although I think they just got bought out recently. I'm not sure, but yeah. Or yeah, I'll mention that later. Yeah, let's go through.
What profession would you not like to do?
Childcare. I get enough children of school age, so I would not want to have to deal with young kids.
High school age?
No. Yeah, I prefer to teach at the middle school or high school age, or adult education, rather than the little kids. It's all just snot and boogers and dried ketchup on their shirt from the tendies they had for lunch. No thanks.
That's just me. I got the tendies. I'm 25 and I still want tendies, and I end up somehow, and I have like the smallest little dip of ketchup because I'm so paranoid. I'm like, that was delicious. I look down my shirt. I'm like, where did that ketchup stain come from? And it sucks because it'll be like a white shirt too, and I'm like, I gotta go get this dry clean now. And if anybody knows a thing or two about dry cleaning, it's not cheap.
Nope.
Even for a shirt, it's like $15 to get it. Just a singular dress shoot, it's like $15, $20 to get it dry cleaned. Rightly so, though, because they're the only ones that can really get out the ketchup stains. So it's just, that's why I wear polo shirts most of the time.
Yeah, Nico. Children are our future. So I'm the present. They can wait.
They can wait. Look, until they can contribute and pay taxes. I don't know. And the music went from jazz to like existential.
Go grab me the remote.
Hold on, I gotta go back to like jazz because it suddenly became like very like existential.
Yeah, I hate when that happens because I have this great playlist, but then I'll be teaching like a serious topic. And I'm like, here's how you should talk to someone who you think might be having suicidal thoughts. And then it's like a video game song is playing. I'm like, hold on a second. Let me change that.
It's like, please understand yourself.
I'm trying to teach like a fun topic, and I'll teach like, we'll talk about vaping. And then the next class, I forget to change the playlist, and I'm talking about like mental health first aid.
Yeah.
Whoops.
It's like it's like you're having a serious conversation about mental health and suicide, and all of a sudden it's playing like Guile's theme from Street Fighter. It's like,
yeah.
Hold on, guys. Wait a minute. Our last question is this: if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
This is strongly influenced by my favorite song. And the 3 words would be "You did enough."
That's a very good.
The song is by Will Stetson. It's a cover of a Japanese metal band called Yorushika. But he has this acoustic, like longing, yearning song that I can rarely listen to. Like I can only listen to it on rare occasions because I will cry when I play it. When I hear it, it will just make me start to tear up. There's just certain songs, certain games. I always talk about how I played Gris on stream and just openly wept on the stream because it was so good and emotional. I am not someone who is afraid to cry. I've talked about how it is therapeutic and all that stuff. So
crying is great.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need a good cry.
There's physiological reasons for it. Yeah, it does help to flush out your negative emotions.
Well, if you internalize all of your emotions, at a certain point it boils over, and you will either go into some emotional fit or you will straight up die. So,
or maybe as Nico said, something on that line. Maybe I would be happy to get like my stats. Like here's your end. Like here's how many burgers you ate. Here's how many hours you slept.
God, I just want to know.
Here's the total amount of money you made over your life.
How many Dr. Peppers did I consume in my life in the liters, in the gallons, please? And it's like 500 gallons. I'm like, that's it? He's like,
yeah. And God, please tell me who had a crush on me that I didn't notice.
I want to, if I'm gonna be here for eternity, I'd like to know and just ponder my regret. I did that on Earth. Might as well carry that into the afterlife.
They were giving me all the signals and I missed it because there's something wrong with my brain. God damn it.
Dang it. That was me in high school. When I found out there were like a bunch of girls that liked me, and they're like, hey, Val, you want to go out and do stuff? You do something together? And I
still miss my first girlfriend in high school. I still think about her. She was such a weird, quirky nerd, and I'm like, I was fresh out of like homeschooling, and I didn't know how to behave or socialize. I was such an awkward dork and screwed it up.
Like, well, there was I was with this one girl that I thought was really cute, but I guess I just didn't have the confidence in myself. And we're just like getting really deep and having conversations like that. She's like, you know what? I've always really admired you, and I always thought you were really cute. And I looked at her and I said, thanks. Oh, I gotta go. But it was fun talking to you. I'll catch you later. And she's like, oh, okay. I'm like, and at the time, it just went over my head, and I wasn't thinking. And like a little bit later, when she was in a relationship, we were having another really deep conversation. She's like, I had a crush on you. I really liked you. I'm just like, I'll be right back. I'm just gonna go scream into like a pillow or something.
Psychic damage.
Emotional damage. Oh, I feel. Anywho, well, that concludes our 1 hour show that went 2 hours. But nevertheless, thank you so much, Mr. Aegis, for appearing on this nationally syndicated, publicly funded PBS broadcast of the VOD. This has been a lot of fun. Is there anything you'd like to say before we end up asking our very last question? Because I think you've basically talked about the stuff that you want to, especially talking about the fellowship, the knowledge fellowship.
Yes. We covered a lot of great ground. I'm really happy that we got to have such a great in-depth conversation. And typically this is what happens when I have someone on or I go on someone's show. We get deep into these great convos, and it takes longer than normal, but that's great. I'm so glad people had so many great comments and questions. And if you would like to follow me, please go ahead and do so. We stream Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays typically. And once a month, I do host the Knowledge Fellowship Seminar Series now. You can check out all of those. You can hop into our Minecraft server, all kinds of great stuff. Follow me on the socials. Don't use the socials very often because they're bad for your mental health. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on and supporting educational, independent content creators, substantive content, and hopefully we will get to do this kind of thing again.
Also, guys, I don't know if you've noticed, in chat right now, who just sent a message, AKL Trifecta, they are going to be our guest tomorrow. And they are a Capcom creator, so they play a lot of Capcom games. And they're also really cool. They hosted 2 panels recently. Actually, you know, we both happen to be from the same city, and you know, they're a very good content crew. So I hope you guys can check us out there with them tomorrow. Yeah, Capcom. So it's time for me to ask my last, and in my opinion, our second most important question, and that is, who shall we rate that we have not rated before?
I do have to. If you are going to check me out, make sure that you are prepared for the fact that we will be playing Deltarune when it comes out. That's going to dominate our time.
I have not played Deltarune.
When Chapter 3 and 4 come out. And that's June 5th, 4th, I think. And then Silksong.
Oh.
Silksong coming out a little bit later this year. That is going to dominate our time. So if you like Undertale, Deltarune, Hollow Knight, Silksong, that kind of game, Night in the Woods, that's the kind of stuff we're going to do. So be prepared for a lot of lore on that kind of stuff.
Hell yeah. Well, who shall we raid that we have not raided before?
Let's check the list.
That was the question I forgot to ask you, or tell you yesterday, or not question, but rather say, hey, who should we follow, or just, you know, have somebody prepared that we should follow at the very end of this. But yeah, go follow Mr. Aegis and go follow AKL here. They're both fantastic content creators, and I'll actually hopefully be having a call with Try there a little later today, and not to mention, I'm going to be getting some more VO work from both of these two, actually, because these two individuals. I would love to get
some more. I do have my first my first gig.
Hell yeah! These two have been one of the few individuals that, like, persistently and consistently, like, express interest in a lot of the VO stuff I do. And that is going to be rewarded, because I realize now that is exactly the kind of people I need in these productions. Because if you can't be consistent and reliable, you're not going to go far in this world. And there's a reason why that's a big thing in the V2 or the voiceover industry. Why the same people are picked, because they can be called upon and they are reliable. So if you can't do that, you do not have a shot. I hate to be so pessimistic about it, but it is what it is. The stars. Hopefully I can give out another one, unless I have to wait again. I have to wait 52 seconds.
If you want to smash me with spitballs and stuff, check it out and subscribe, and you can hit me with dodgeballs and throw popcorn at me and the kind of stuff that students do to me in real life. Oh, yeah, they knocked me way out here. They knocked me so far away.
Oh my word.
I think this is as close as I can get. They damaged me.
Oh my word! Cool. We have.
I'm so tiny now.
We have little. Mr.
Oh, and the stars are huge.
Oh my word!
Oh gosh.
Well, do you have the person?
I'm gonna have to go to the VTuber hospital. Yeah, Patware, Patware, a friend of Countess Lita, someone we have collaborated with in the past. She is a game designer, engineer type of person, and we've talked about great stuff. So check out Patware.
Are they playing Enshrouded?
Thank you so much they are playing Enshrouded.
Oh, that is a PNG. That is a. Oh. Well, here you guys go. The first one is for our wonderful subscribers, and the second is for our wonderful followers. If you guys want to support the work I do and the voiceover content I make, I would appreciate it if you would follow me here, if you follow me on any of my socials, and especially on Twitter or YouTube, because if we hit a 1K subscribers on YouTube, because we're almost there, we're at, I think, 915. If we hit 1K on YouTube, we will play Marvel Rivals. And then if we can hit 1K here and then 1K over on YouTube, then I will react to my, by the end of the year though, I will react to my Niji Sanji original audition video. So my original Niji Sanji audition video, and I'll probably make a new one, which I don't want to look at those, all things considered. But if you also want to support the work I do, consider subscribing. You know, you get some emotes, you get to do some things, get more points that way to throw more Dr. Peppers. Just something to consider. So with that in mind, let's raid our friend here. And I thank you guys so much for joining me today. This was so much fun. I hope to see you tomorrow at, what time did I set for that? That will be at 1 p.m. tomorrow. And that will hopefully be an hour long. If it's not, if it goes a little longer, that's okay. But I hope you guys can join me then. My name is Val. This has been the wonderful Mr. Aegis, and I hope to see you guys tomorrow at 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye. Say goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.
There you go. All right. Bye-bye.